At the high school, I also wanted a fresh start again. My depression that I was facing in middle school kind of went away, especially like after that video was posted online. I stopped doing that stuff. High school, I just wanted a fresh start, and I felt like really happy that I got in. I applied to 5 different schools and I got into one, so I was just really kind of like happy to be here kind of vibe. And I started running that summer, and I was also eating like under 1,000 calories a day that summer. And then when I got to boarding school, I wanted to find a tribe but became preoccupied with maintaining grades. Throughout high school, I struggled with my grade point average despite always having performed on top academically throughout the rest of my life. There were certain points where it felt personal, like the teachers decided I was an okay target to give their low grade to. And then in high school, I was also like really sleep deprived, and some nights I was only getting a few hours of sleep. A lot of nights when I first got there, I was only getting like 3 hours of sleep. One teacher said maybe I didn't belong there, and I think they were trying to tell me, like looking back, I think they were trying to tell me maybe there was a school like better suited to me, but I think maybe it would have been a better conversation if they said it that way instead of like maybe this isn't, like they were saying maybe this isn't the right place for me kind of thing. So that conversation kind of made me cry. I was mostly just preoccupied with just the schoolwork and trying to do it all, because we would have 12-hour days and then we would still have 3 to 5 hours of homework. And then I also wanted to do a lot of different band activities, because in middle school I would do like 5 or 8 different bands or like theater and stuff, but then mostly like towards the end I would just start doing band. And I would also do a charity band tour throughout Europe for Make-A-Wish Foundation that Mr. Lieberman would organize, and went to a lot of different European countries. So then, since I was doing so much music and I was struggling academically, I was suggested to stop doing so much music, so I also had to cut that back. And I also cried at that conversation, I remember. And then we had to do sports every term, so then if you did like PE or theater or music sports, then I think you might only have it like 4 or 5 days per week instead of 6 days per week. But I actually got a lot out of the exercise, even though it was like a lot on my body. I did long distance running, and then when I was a junior and senior, I did crew, and just like being outside and getting the fresh air and getting the endorphins and the blood pumping, that really helped throughout high school. I also think that helped like build up my muscle for the rest of my life, and I think if I didn't have that, then I would have been like a noodle. And I also gained 30 pounds every school year, and then during the summer I would like lose it again. Then I made friends with just like the older girls in my dorm, so that was good because we're still friends. But then it was kind of a bummer at the time because I was more friends with the older girls, and then they kind of like graduated, and then I was just like still there, and I didn't have like as close friends anymore. So during my first term at boarding school, I got anonymously blackmailed about the child porn I was involved in, and I asked my friends what to do. And I reached out to a dean, and the dean asked if it was someone from the school, and I said I didn't know who it was. And I told the person that I told the dean, and the person left me alone who blackmailed me. So yeah, after that I wasn't really involved in too much more drama until the whole video kind of got like circulated around later in junior year. Then that summer, on the European charity band tour, I dated a girl, and we dated for 2 years, And at the time, we were very in love, and my mom also liked her a lot. But I still had a rough relationship with my mom. But since I went to boarding school, it was like getting better. But it was always like awkward whenever like she treated my friends or family members or pets kind of like more affectionately than she did towards me. And then when I went back to boarding school, the girlfriend and I began fighting a lot. My grades actually went up, and my academic advisor asked me why, and I responded that it was because I stopped trying so hard. But actually, I just started sleeping more. I just like started caring more about how I felt, I guess. There's this one biology teacher, and I got a bad grade on his test, so I went to see like what was I supposed to do, like kind of like he go over it with me, and like I learned like from my mistakes kind of thing. But when I sat down, he's just like, do you hate me? Do you hate my class? And it just felt so personal all of a sudden, and I just literally had a panic attack where I couldn't breathe. Then I just like walked myself to the health center. I think I also I like had some panic attacks in middle school too. So then when I would go back to like South Florida for like spring break or something, there was like this one club. I did Molly at that place, and I just like realized that everyone just wants to be happy in life. And I realized that my mom was like really unhappy because she just wanted a family, and it just kept not working out with the other people in her life. So at the time, that was like a big realization for me. So then my junior year was a pretty hard year. The girlfriend insisted on taking my virginity using a strap-on. First I was like, okay, and then I was like, no, I maybe like wanna save that for later kind of thing. But then she kind of like took that the wrong way, like I'm saving it for someone else or something. So that just really hurt, like physically. Also, we had like a big age difference, so that was also kind of messed up too. And then we ended up breaking up like a few months after that. And then this guy who I didn't know, like we never spoke or anything, he just found the video and like of the child porn of me and like sent it around the school. And then when I told the administration about it, they were like pretty upset with me, and some of them were like asking me if I did it while I was there. And it was also like they're sitting in a semicircle around me, and like it's a lot of like men and stuff. It's very intimidating. And they're like, well, why did you do it? And I just said, like very honestly, because I was lonely and I was horny. Sometimes I laugh because I'm just like uncomfortable. It's just like so ridiculous, just because that was so not the right way to handle it. But then they just sent an email to the whole school, like, remember, just especially don't send out child pornography in this email. So then the people kind of stopped, and it kind of like went away. The guy was kind of protected, like the police were like, okay, who was it that was distributing child pornography? But like no one really said. Everyone just kind of like protected that guy, and then he just went to like some really good school, like some Canadian school or something. I remember just one time wearing this short skirt, not because I was like, oh, I'm gonna wear like a short skirt, but just like coming from South Florida, my attire was a lot different than the people from New England basically. So I just wore that with tights and like a button down, and it was just like a cute thing with like this red skirt with like white squares or something. And at this point I was already kind of like, fuck it, I mean, like, what can you do kind of thing. That was my junior year of high school. I also started doing rowing my junior year, and I did it my senior year. And also I remember in my dorm White Hall, I applied for proctorship, but I was the only one who applied for it, but I didn't get it. And it was so hurtful to me because my entire social life was in the dorm. And I was also kind of feeling like, since I was going to be like the oldest one that year, like almost all my close friends from the dorm kind of had graduated already. I just felt like a really big rejection, and looking back, I think maybe I should have like stayed in the dorm and gotten closer with the like underclassmen in the dorm that I had already started to get to know and stuff, but I ended up taking it really bad, and yeah, it was just like a harsh year. And that summer I smoked a lot of weed to cope, and my mom like called the school, and I switched dorms to Bancroft Hall, which was kind of a big deal because normally you just stay in the same dorm like the whole time you're there. In senior year, I only got into one college, the Evergreen State College, because my GPA was so low. And so I just went there since I had been conditioned to go to college. My mom like always did yoga. When I was in middle school, she went to yoga teacher training. In my YouTube video, Puerto Rico, that guy David, whose birthday it was, they made friends in that yoga teacher training class. And like he and I are still friends. And my mom like did yoga for like 20 years before she even became a yoga teacher when I was in middle school. And then when I went to boarding school, my mom converted to Hinduism, and she also started like following this guru. In my senior year, my mom and I went to India, which she had been to India before, and she like took me in winter my senior year. At that point in my life, I thought that to not go to college was a certain doom, similar to receiving a prison sentence or something. I thought it was like really outlandish. Although now I know that I don't enjoy academia, and college was not and is not for me. At the time, I was very happy to go there. Just like the feeling of just getting into one, I'm just kind of like grateful. And by the end of senior year, I could barely hold my eyes open. And at the time, I thought I had senior burnout, but my adrenal glands and thyroid were literally used out from the Exeter experience. And to this day, I still have to take like thyroid pill every morning. Spring break, I fell in love with a boy for the first time, and I had kind of like sex with a boy for the first time, and it was great. In the spring, my boat at New England Championships got second place, and I think I was in like the third boat, so it was like JV, and I think I cried. And I remember just people looking at me like, that's so weird that she's crying when she got second place or something. But yeah, it just kind of shows the pressure that we were all under. Like after we graduated, I threw a grad party. And there are also like other families throwing a grad party. So I was like, okay, I'll throw mine like after yours, so kind of like the after party. And there's more like the family like picnic grad party. When I was at the party, it was really nice. Like there were a lot of like different food vendors there, and it was like this really beautiful New England home. But there were these pictures of the teachers and parents like behind prison bars, and it said make good choices. I remember just kind of taking it like a little bit personally. And then later they also just straight up wouldn't let the kids like leave the graduation. Like they wouldn't let the kids leave their party because they didn't want them to go to my party. Then that summer, and my mom's and my relationship just kind of spiraled out of control, and my mom was still dating like the same boyfriend, and I remember even like he was sticking up for me, which was like really like saying something kind of. There was one week in particular where there was no going back with my mom and me, and I was even kind of like homeless, but not like on the street, like sleeping outside, but kind of like couch surfing. But this weekend where there was no going back, my mom was just like provoking me, and I was like, is this what you want? And I like cut myself for the first time in a long time in front of her, because my mom was just like berating me and stuff, and was just like, is this what you want? Like me to like hate myself and like cut myself? Then my mom happened to have pepper spray already on her, and then she like pepper sprayed me. I was in so much pain. It was like the worst pain of my life at the time. And then I like went to the pool and jumped in the pool, and then I like got out and was like drying off, and I was just like on the couch, and then my mom gave me like a Gatorade with a bunch of like Xanax crushed up in the Gatorade. And then I passed out, and then I woke up. I think there was like weed in the bed, and there was like the cops, and they were like taking me to an inpatient center. So then I had to be in this inpatient center getting observed with all these nuts, like who are actual nuts in South Florida. I had to be in there for like 72 hours, and that was the point in my mom's and my relationship where I kind of like didn't even feel like she was really like my mom anymore. So that was when I was 18. I like couldn't even look at her the same way after that. I felt entitled to have a summer just to enjoy myself after feeling like I had given up a lot to complete boarding school and had finally no responsibilities for once since high school began. But instead I was like suddenly entirely cut off. I was not like planning on that, and I got a job at a sushi restaurant, but I was kind of like an undocumented worker. Like I didn't fill out any forms to work there, and then I would have to like ask to get paid every once in a while, and then they would give me like $60 or something. And then I went to college, and my family was very relieved. When I graduated high school, my mom was like worried that I wasn't going to graduate, even though I think I graduated with a C+ average, which is really bad, but it's not like close to not graduating still. I was like completely brainwashed to go to college. I was not really close to not going to college, so my family was like kind of relieved because my mom was telling them that I was gonna stay with a boyfriend in South Florida or something. She was like telling them that I was like addicted to drugs, or I don't know, just like stuff that was really far off from the truth. Even though my mom's side of the family lived in Florida, we just didn't see them as much. When we moved to Florida, and we were actually like a block away from my mom's sister, like one Florida block, which I guess is like around 1 mile away or something. Like we only saw my mom's sister like once or twice a year, which is basically as often as we see my dad's side of the family in South Carolina. I wanted my boyfriend to move from Florida to Washington with me to the Evergreen State College, but he would not. He was putting a lot of pressure on me while I was trying to make friends, and I ended up cheating on him, not like I planned it. I like immediately felt really bad, and I broke it off with him because I didn't want to like be dishonest, and I took a couple months away from dating. Academically, I was having a very easy time, which I gained a lot of satisfaction from after the Exeter experience. I took piano lessons. My teacher is named Mr. Bach, and he really like taught me to listen and changed the way I play the piano. And I was studying music and became a kind of teacher's pet of this one music teacher, because at the Evergreen State College you take like one big class, like studies built into it instead of like taking them individually. So I was kind of in the music scene, but I still didn't feel like I fit in, which I was kind of comfortable with that feeling at that point in my life. The Evergreen State College is in Olympia, which is a lot more alternative. And the boy I was in a relationship with at that point in my life, he was there every night and suddenly wasn't there one night. And he also wasn't in his dorm room. I learned that he was cheating on me, and then he ended up like moving in with the girl he cheated on me with. After that guy like cheated on me, I had kind of insomnia. I was just like thinking all night. But I did kind of have like a hot girl summer. I went to Manhattan for this music conference with the experimental music ensemble that I was in. Then I went directly from there to see my friend. She was in Montreal. I saw her there. And then I was in Miami. Then I went over to California with my mom. Like I think we went to Sedona and then California. I think I might have also been in Europe that summer on my grandparents' boat. My grandmother, I told her about like the insomnia thing. I think my grandmother was just like, you don't have to know why people do things. And that kind of just like cured my insomnia. Then I kind of started dating when I was in Florida that summer, I think it was. And at this point, I'm 19. He did not want to define the relationship. That fall, I ended up hooking up with someone who I was attracted to, but unfortunately that winter he overdosed on heroin and he died, and I really regret not telling him that I loved him or that he was special. I know like for a lot of people, including myself, my grades went down after that. And I remember I was also training for a marathon that year, and I ran a marathon that summer. I just was kind of like trying to do my best, I guess. I was kind of like grieving, so I was like pretty sad about that. So then I was in this program that year where I studied abroad in Uruguay for 5 weeks, and I learned the tango, but I also became a vegan, and I started following like Freely the Banana Girl, and I started getting like really tired, and I started like sleeping for like 20 hours a day. That was when I finally got diagnosed with autoimmune, and that was also when I finally started taking like thyroid medicine, and I started getting treated, and I have made kind of like a rebound, and you can like turn it around. So specifically I had like Lyme's and Bartonella. I was just like really tired, and like right after I was diagnosed with autoimmune, my mom died, and the official cause of death was suicide. It was just so strange the way it looked that we all hired a personal investigator just to kind of like make logical sense about what happened. And then I also confirmed it with a psychic that I talked to, and he just said like exactly the same thing that the personal investigator said. And at the time, my mom and I were fighting because she was gonna come and help me pack up my dorm room for the summer, and then like she canceled her ticket. Like we were just both really upset and fighting a lot. I remember like the day my mom died, I went to like on this long drive down to Portland to see like this guy from my freshman year, and then he ended up like cheating on his girlfriend with me, and then I didn't like realize that until like his girlfriend, he was like with his girlfriend. I was like, this is so fucked up. I just like left. I remember like my aunt told me when I was driving back from Eugene, because she was like, no, I'll wait till you're home. And I'm like, no, you like have to tell me now. And then I just screamed like this scream that you never want to scream kind of thing when I found out. I also like had a bunch of like travel already planned for that summer, and I still went just because I didn't know what else to do kind of thing. Like I was just like too numb to even like cancel it, but like looking back, I really should have canceled it and just stayed home and just like been in bed, just like processing the whole thing. I also returned to school in the fall, and I completed one term, but I did not obtain all the credits from that term, and I had to take like a term off after that, which turned into a year, and I didn't really resume piano lessons either after that summer. Then I dated a guy who was like a comfort to me at that time, but when he learned that I was going to see Dan in November, he and I broke it off. He knew I was seeing Dan, but like he never wanted to hear about it. I told Dan, and like he got really angry that I had dated other people, and I reminded him that he didn't want to define the relationship, and then he said now he didn't want to define the relationship because I dated other people. I think I was 21, and yeah, by the time it was April, we dated for 2 years, and I broke it off with him because I was tired of waiting for him to make the relationship official. And then I started dating like the second to last boyfriend I had after that. Also, like during that year off, I started doing like therapy, and I got really into the healing arts, wisdom teachings from around the world in Olympia during my year off from the different spiritual teachers there.